Howdy y'all, and welcome back to Cup of Cheer. Wow, I cannot believe it's been another year since we last filmed, and I'm just so sluggish right now. Let me even see if that worked.
Yeah, I think we covered all the ones we know.
Howdy y'all, and welcome back to Cup of Cheer. So I'm here today with my worship pastor, David.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome, David. Last year, he did some really cool stuff with our Advent worship time at church, and it was really neat how he just opened up the history of these old carols and even verses that I had never heard before, and it kind of blew me away considering I'm kind of a Christmas history buff. So I wanted to bring that to you all by having him here and telling us a little bit about which song are you going to do for us today?
Today the song is going to be Hark the Herald Angels Sing.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm going to be singing for you Hark the Herald Angels Sing, which is obviously a song that we all know very well. We hear it every Christmas. But before I do that, I'd like to say a couple words about how is this song written, and even more than that, what is so special about the song in regards to what the song's message is? What does it have to do with scriptures? So, first the story. How was Hark the Herald written? Well, there was a man named Charles Wesley. You might have heard his name. He's very famous. He wrote many, many hymns during the 1700s, and most of the pieces from that period actually come from guys just like him. Not very many hymns were actually written during that time period because of some political things that were going on. And so Hark the Herald is actually one of the very few Christmas hymns that we have from that time period. The interesting thing about it, though, is that if we were to hear it the way it was originally written, most of us probably wouldn't recognize it initially, both because of the melody and also because of the words. The melody was originally a very boring and dirge-like melody, actually. This is very uncharacteristic for Charles Wesley because most of his music was actually really well done. But this particular song was actually kind of a dud for about 100 years after he wrote it. The melody was very boring. It sounded like a funeral song. It was very sad. It was very slow. A friend of his, but also a joking critic, George Whitefield, often teased him about this, that it was an amazing song, but he chose an atrocious melody for it. And in addition to that, the words were different. The main difference was, these days, our song starts, Hark the Herald Angels Sing. And in those days, it started, Hark how all the welkin rings. Welkin, what is welkin? Well, a welkin is an ancient Anglo-Saxon term. So maybe that's not ancient, but an old Anglo-Saxon term which has to do with the host of heaven, the vault in heaven where all the angels hang out and sing. So, hark how all the welkin rings. Well, that's kind of a weird term, and in those days it was as well. So, George Whitefield, without permission from Charles Wesley, decided he was going to change the first few words, so he changed them. In addition to that, though, this song was originally written with short stanzas, and it did not repeat the refrain that we all know so well. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn king. Nowadays we sing that before, at the beginning, but we also sing that after every verse. In those days, that was only part of one of the verses, and the verses were much shorter, and there was actually more verses. So fast forward to about 100 years later, 1840, and a famous composer named Felix Mendelssohn wrote a new melody. And he actually didn't write it for this hymn. In fact, he actually was very adamant that his new melody would not be used for any religious purposes. But after his death, a man named Dr. William Cummings, in the mid-1850s, decided to take that beautiful melody from Felix Mendelssohn, which we now know as tied to Hark the Herald Angels Sing, and Dr. Cummings, being a musical man himself, restructured the entire song, all the lyrics, making them longer verses, about twice as long as they were before, combining certain verses so they made more sense, and placing the refrain that we all know so well behind each verse. And then he took Felix Mendelssohn's wonderful, beautiful melody and placed it to those lyrics, and Hark the Herald Angels Sing, as we know it, took off overnight. It was an instant hit in churches, and by the time the 20th century came around, with movies like It's a Wonderful Life, Hark the Herald has become something ingrained in Western culture probably forever. And while it's important to people who don't know Christ, it's especially important for people who do know Christ, and that's because of the amazing things it says. So let me just bring a few of these lyrics to life for you. They're really, truly amazing. I can't cover them all because of all songs, this is probably one of the songs that's most jam-packed with just deep and complex theology, but at the same time, very understandable, interestingly enough. So we don't have time to do it all, like I said, but let me just give you a few examples. Verse 3 starts, "Hail the heaven-born Prince of Peace. Hail the Son of Righteousness." You would expect that to be spelled S-O-N, like the son to his father, Son of Righteousness. But it's actually S-U-N because it's referring to a verse in Malachi chapter 4 that is a prophecy to Israel about their future Messiah, that at some point in the future, the Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in its wings, healing for the people of Israel, and even for the whole world. And so when you read those words, "Hail the Son of Righteousness," it's talking about Malachi chapter 4, a very rich prophecy from the Old Testament. Another phrase is, "Rise the woman's conquering seed, bruise in us the serpent's head." And of course that can only be referring to Genesis 3:15, the prophecy right after the fall, that one day, even though the serpent, Satan, had scuttled God's plan, he had ruined the perfection God placed in the garden, that someday a man would come who would be the one to crush the serpent's head, to bruise the serpent's head, to put away this fallenness that came because of what happened in the garden, and to redeem not just a people, but eventually even all the heavens and the earth. And this man is Jesus, and this is the one that we sing about during Christmas time. And so when it says, "Rise the woman's conquering seed," it's talking about Jesus, and "bruise in us the serpent's head." Wow, that we get to participate in Jesus crushing the serpent's head. That's what that's saying. So there are many, many more. I hope at some point you take the time to study all of these out in this song. It's a great song to drive you right back to the Bible. But with that said, I'm going to do my best to sing this song, and hopefully you enjoy it, but also find yourself in a place of worship to the King that this song is talking about. So this is "Hark the Herald Angels Sing." Sing glory to the newborn King, peace on earth and mercy mild, God and sinners reconciled. Joyful all ye nations rise, join the triumph of the skies. Angelic hosts proclaim, Christ is born in Bethlehem. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Christ by highest heaven adored, and Merry Christmas. I hope that blesses you. Have a wonderful Christmas season.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Glad tidings we bring to you and your kin. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, everyone! Mwah!
Merry Christmas. Sweet Mosich.
How do you say Merry Christmas?
Jackson.
All right.
Feliz Navidad.
Yeah, I think